Most people live their lives in quiet desperation, repeating habits that guarantee struggle and mediocrity. But if you want to break free, you must stop doing what poor people do, not just financially poor, but poor in spirit, poor in thought, poor in vision. This is Earl Nightingale. Every man and woman desires a life of greater abundance, freedom, and purpose. Yet so many lives shackled by habits that all but guarantee failure. Not because they are incapable, not because opportunity has passed them by, but because they continue to do what poor people do. Now, when I say poor, I don't mean the lack of money alone. Money is only a byproduct. I mean poor in thought, poor in vision, poor in discipline. You see, poverty begins in the mind long before it shows in the bank account. Poor people blame circumstances. They wait for luck, for someone else to rescue them, for the perfect time to begin. Successful people take responsibility. They say, if it is to be, it is up to me. That shift in thinking separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. Poor people spend more than they earn. They trade tomorrow for today's pleasure, but wealth begins with discipline. Save first, spend what remains. That simple act is the foundation of freedom. Poor people waste time, the one resource no man can replenish. Hours slip through their fingers, lost in gossip, distraction, and idleness. Meanwhile, successful people guard their time, using it to learn, to grow, to build. For time, when invested wisely, compounds greater than any bank account. Poor people neglect their own minds. They consume entertainment but rarely education. Yet a single idea properly applied can transform an entire life. Feed your mind daily with wisdom and watch your world transform. Poor people chase comfort. They want the reward without the effort. But every lasting achievement is purchased with sacrifice. The successful embrace discipline, knowing that the pain of effort is far lighter than the pain of regret. And above all, poor people talk about what they will do, while successful people quietly do it. They understand that action speaks louder than intention. Here is the truth. You will never escape poverty of the wallet until you escape poverty of the mind. So, stop doing what poor people do. Take responsibility for your life. Spend less than you earn. Guard your time. Read, learn. Surround yourself with those who lift you higher. Act with courage. And above all, take consistent daily action toward your goals. The opportunity for greatness is not out there, it is within you, waiting for you to stop repeating the habits of the poor and to start living as the successful live. This is your moment. Begin to decide now. Don't wait another hour. Stop doing what poor people do and start building the life you were created to live. Stop blaming circumstances, for circumstances are nothing more than the soil in which you plant your life. Two people can stand on the very same ground. One will see only rocks and weeds, while the other will find the opportunity to grow a garden. The poor mindset always looks outward, searching for reasons why life has been unfair, why success seems impossible, why others rise while they remain behind. This mindset convinces a man that his fate is written by the economy, by his upbringing, by the weather, by anything except his own decisions. Yet history has proven time and again that those who rise are not those born into perfect conditions, but those who refuse to let conditions define them. The wealthy mindset, by contrast, begins with responsibility. It does not wait for the wind to shift or the rain to fall. It says, if I must build in the storm, then I will build in the storm. It accepts full ownership of thought, action, and result. It understands that life does not happen to us but through us, and that the seeds we plant in thought eventually manifest in reality. This shift in responsibility is the dividing line between mediocrity and greatness, between drifting and steering, between merely surviving and truly living. When you stop blaming circumstances, you reclaim your power. You recognize that your response matters more than the challenge itself, that obstacles are not final verdicts but invitations to grow stronger. The wealthy mindset sees every setback as feedback, every difficulty as training, every hardship as proof that strength is being forged. While the poor mindset finds comfort in excuses, the wealthy mindset finds freedom in accountability. For responsibility is the key that unlocks the door to self-mastery and achievement. Stop spending more than you earn, for this single habit has led more men and women into poverty than any lack of opportunity ever could. Poverty is not always the result of low income. More often it is the byproduct of undisciplined spending. A person may earn a modest wage and grow wealthy over time if he spends with wisdom, while another may earn a handsome salary and still live in quiet desperation if his appetite for consumption is greater than his discipline. The numbers on a paycheck matter far less than the choices made after the deposit clears. The poor mindset seeks comfort in immediate gratification. It buys to impress, to soothe, to escape the burden of patience. It spends borrowed money on things that depreciate, believing that possessions will bring happiness. But the truth is clear debt enslaves, and indulgence drains the very resources that could have been planted for a brighter tomorrow. The wealthy mindset, however, understands that money is a servant, not a master. Every dollar has a task, and the first task is not to disappear but to grow. When you spend less than you earn, you create margin. That margin becomes savings, and savings become investments. Investments create income that requires no labor, and that income in time builds freedom. It is not magic, it is mathematics. Discipline compounds just as recklessness compounds, but in opposite directions. One leads to peace of mind, options, and independence. The other leads to worry, limitation, and dependence on others. A wise man begins by paying himself first, setting aside a portion of every dollar before spending on anything else. He does not buy luxuries until his assets can pay for them. He values security over show, growth over gratification. This simple principle, practiced consistently, is the dividing line between those who eventually escape the struggle and those who remain chained to it. Spending more than you earn is like pouring water into a leaking bucket. The harder you work, the faster it drains. But with discipline, the leaks are sealed, the bucket fills, and over time it overflows, not because of luck or chance, but because of a decision to live with wisdom rather than impulse. Stop wasting time, for time is the most valuable asset you will ever possess. Unlike money, it cannot be saved in a vault borrowed from a friend or earned back once it is gone. Each day, 24 hours are deposited into the account of your life, and with each passing moment that balance diminishes. The poor mindset squanders this gift, believing there will always be more, drifting through hours with little thought for their worth. But every wasted moment is a moment subtracted from the time you have left to build, to grow, to achieve, to live fully. The habits of wasting time are subtle, almost invisible. Idle conversations that add nothing to one's growth, endless distractions designed only to entertain, procrastination disguised as waiting for the perfect moment, all are thieves that rob a man of his future while he hardly notices the loss. Poor habits create a cycle where days blur into weeks and weeks into years, leaving behind little more than regret. The poor mindset lives in distraction, while the wealthy mindset lives in direction. Those who succeed treat time with reverence. They understand that minutes compound like money, and that small, deliberate actions, repeated daily, create extraordinary results over the years. A page read each morning becomes a library. 10 minutes of focused effort grows into mastery of a skill. A single hour invested wisely every day can transform an entire career, an entire life. The wealthy mindset does not ask, "How can I kill time?" but rather, "How can I give time purpose?" Guarding your time begins with clarity. Without a clear vision or goal, time slips away into meaningless activity. With direction, each moment can be measured against its contribution to progress. The question becomes not whether you are busy, but whether you are effective. The man who spends an hour in focused work may accomplish more than another who spends a day scattered and unfocused. Efficiency is not rushing, it is aligning time with purpose. The poor mindset says, "I will start tomorrow," as though tomorrow is promised. The wealthy mindset acts today, aware that life is short and opportunity waits for no one. Every delay is a silent agreement with mediocrity, every excuse a chain that binds potential. Those who achieve greatness know that the present moment is the only place where action exists, and they seize it with determination. Time wasted is potential buried. Time invested is destiny written. To waste time is to waste life itself, for the two are inseparable. The hours you allow to drift away without purpose are the same hours that could have built knowledge, strengthened health, created wealth, or deepened relationships. The poor mindset sees time as abundant and cheap. The wealthy mindset sees it as scarce and priceless. The difference is not in how much time each is given, but in how each chooses to spend it. Stop neglecting learning, for poverty of the mind always comes before poverty of the pocket. A man's external world is nothing more than a reflection of his internal world, and if his thoughts remain small, his life will follow the same narrow path. The poor mindset believes learning ends with the classroom, that education is a phase of youth rather than a lifelong pursuit. Yet the truth is, the most successful men and women continue to study, observe, and grow long after formal schooling ends. They understand that the world belongs not to those who know it all, but to those willing to keep knowing more. Neglecting learning is like planting a field but refusing to water it. The soil may be fertile, the seeds full of potential, yet without nourishment nothing will grow. In the same way, every person is born with immense potential, but without the continual feeding of new knowledge, skills, and ideas, that potential withers. The poor mindset consumes entertainment endlessly, but starves the mind of wisdom. It spends hours on distraction while neglecting even minutes of education. The wealthy mindset, however, seeks out knowledge with intention, understanding that each book, each lesson, each conversation with a mentor adds a brick to the foundation of a richer life. Learning is not confined to books, though books hold treasures beyond measure. Learning is found in observation, in listening more than speaking, in reflecting upon mistakes, and in applying lessons learned. Every setback carries a hidden teaching. Every difficulty conceals a principle that, once discovered, becomes an advantage. The poor mindset repeats mistakes because it never studies them. The wealthy mindset studies everything, asking, "What can this teach me?" The man who stops learning stops growing, and the man who stops growing begins to decay long before his time. Skills become outdated, opportunities pass unnoticed, and confidence fades in the absence of knowledge. The world moves quickly, and those who do not adapt are left behind. But those who continue to learn remain agile, always ready to seize new chances, always prepared for the future. Neglecting learning is also neglecting imagination, for knowledge sparks creativity. When the mind is fed with ideas, it begins to connect them, to see possibilities that others overlook. Innovations are born, opportunities multiply, and life expands. The wealthy mindset never says, "I know enough," for it understands that growth is infinite. To learn is to invest in yourself, and that investment pays the greatest dividends of all. Knowledge protects against fear, because understanding dispels uncertainty. It opens doors that money alone cannot open. It builds confidence that no circumstance can shake. Poverty of the pocket may be temporary, but poverty of the mind becomes permanent unless one chooses to rise above it through daily, deliberate learning. Stop seeking instant gratification, for it is the silent thief that robs men and women of their futures. The poor mindset craves comfort in the moment, reaching for pleasure without thought of the price tomorrow will demand. It chooses ease over effort, indulgence over discipline, entertainment over education. Yet the law of life is clear: what you enjoy without earning must eventually be paid for, and what you sacrifice for today will return to you multiplied tomorrow. The path of instant gratification looks smooth at first, but it always leads downhill. The successful understand a truth the unsuccessful overlook: everything has a cost. If you want strength, you must pay with sweat. If you want wealth, you must pay with discipline. If you want wisdom, you must pay with study. The poor mindset, unwilling to pay the price now, seeks shortcuts and quick fixes, but life does not honor those who try to bypass its principles. It rewards only those who sow before they expect to reap. Consider the difference between a farmer who eats his seed and one who plants it. The one who eats enjoys a brief moment of satisfaction but guarantees an empty field tomorrow. The one who plants endures hunger today but secures a harvest tomorrow. Instant gratification is the act of eating your seed. Discipline is the act of planting it. The future belongs to the planter. Every act of delayed gratification is a vote for the person you are becoming. Choosing to read instead of scroll, to save instead of spend, to exercise instead of remain idle, these small choices compound over time into wealth, health, wisdom, and freedom. The poor mindset views sacrifice as loss. The wealthy mindset views sacrifice as investment. One seeks the fleeting comfort of today, the other builds the enduring strength of tomorrow. When you resist instant gratification, you build character, you strengthen willpower, and willpower is the true currency of success. Those who master themselves need not fear competition, for few are willing to endure discomfort in the pursuit of greatness. Each time you delay gratification, you are proving to yourself that you are in control, not your impulses. That mastery is the difference between drifting aimlessly and building a destiny. The poor seek comfort now, but comfort is temporary. The successful invest in tomorrow, and tomorrow always rewards the wise. The life you desire is not purchased in a single moment of indulgence, but through steady choices compounded over years. Every moment offers a decision: eat the seed or plant it. One leads to fleeting pleasure, the other to lasting abundance. The choice belongs to you in every small action, every quiet hour. Every decision that seems insignificant yet shapes the entire course of your life. Stop associating with negative people, for poverty thrives in the company of complainers. The human mind is like fertile soil. Whatever seeds are planted within it will eventually grow. If you spend your hours with those who constantly complain, criticize, and condemn, their words become the seeds that take root in your thinking. Over time, you begin to see the world through their lens of limitation, and without even realizing it, you adopt their doubts, their fears, and their excuses. The poor mindset gathers in circles of gossip and resentment, feeding on each other's bitterness and mistaking it for companionship. Negative people drain energy rather than create it. They see obstacles instead of opportunities, problems instead of solutions, and setbacks instead of lessons. Their presence quietly erodes ambition. Spend enough time in their company, and you will find your dreams shrinking to match their narrow vision of what is possible. They may mean no harm, but their influence is harmful nonetheless. The poor mindset clings to such company because it is comfortable, misery seeks validation, and complainers are always eager to find agreement. The wealthy mindset, however, chooses associations with great care. It seeks out those who inspire, encourage, and challenge growth. It values conversation that sparks ideas, not complaints. It surrounds itself with people who talk about goals, not gossip, solutions, not problems, the future, not failures. These associations act as fuel, igniting creativity, reinforcing discipline, and multiplying ambition. The difference is profound, for the people around you are either pulling you upward or dragging you downward. One of the greatest secrets of success is the principle of environment. Just as plants wither in poor soil but flourish in rich ground, people decline in toxic surroundings but thrive in supportive ones. If you desire wealth in mind, spirit, and resources, you must guard your environment as fiercely as a farmer guards his field. This often means creating distance from those who refuse to grow, not out of cruelty, but out of necessity. For you cannot rise while chained to those who insist on sinking. Negative people reinforce poverty not only in finances but in thought. They convince themselves and others that success is impossible, that effort is wasted, that the game of life is rigged against them. But these are not truths, they are excuses. If you allow such voices constant access to your ears, soon they will shape your beliefs, and beliefs always determine results. To break free, you must surround yourself with those who see potential where others see problems, those who encourage action instead of excuses, those who make you believe in yourself more than you did yesterday. Poverty thrives in the company of complainers, but wealth, in all its forms, thrives in the company of dreamers, builders, and doers. Stop ignoring health and discipline, for without them, even the greatest wealth becomes a burden rather than a blessing. The poor mindset often treats health as an afterthought, believing that success is built only on money, possessions, or recognition. Yet what good is a fortune if the body is too weak to enjoy it, or the mind too clouded to manage it? History is filled with men who gained riches but lost the ability to savor them because they neglected the very foundation upon which all achievement rests, the disciplined care of body and mind. Health is the invisible wealth. It cannot be bought once it is gone, and it does not announce its decline until the damage has been done. The poor mindset consumes without restraint, sleeps without rhythm, and labors without balance, treating the body as though it were indestructible. But the truth is simple. Your body is the vessel through which all dreams must be pursued. If it is neglected, the pursuit falters. The wealthy mindset, however, views health as a primary investment. It understands that food is fuel, that rest is renewal, and that movement is medicine. Discipline is the companion of health. Just as no field will produce a harvest without order, no life will produce results without structure. Discipline is not punishment, it is alignment. It is the decision to place long-term gain above short-term ease, to do what must be done whether the mood is present or not. The poor mindset resists discipline, calling it restrictive, but the wealthy mindset embraces it, knowing it is the very force that creates freedom. For without discipline, habits decay into chaos, and chaos always leads to decline. When health and discipline are ignored, potential is wasted. A brilliant mind trapped in a tired body cannot perform at its peak. A man with vision but no discipline will forever chase goals that slip through his fingers. Wealth cannot be sustained in the absence of order, for riches flow away from the undisciplined as surely as water flows through open hands. But with health and discipline, every effort multiplies. Energy is abundant, focus is sharp, and consistency becomes natural. To cultivate health is to respect the body, and to practice discipline is to respect time. Together, they form the unshakable foundation upon which true wealth is built. Every act of nourishment, every hour of rest, every moment of restraint is a deposit into the account of your future. Ignore them, and the account will one day be empty no matter how much money lies in the bank. Honor them, and you secure not only the means to achieve wealth, but also the strength and clarity to enjoy it fully. Stop thinking small, for the size of your thoughts determines the size of your life. The poor mindset confines itself to narrow possibilities, convinced that only a little is available, that only modest dreams are realistic, that greatness belongs to someone else. This mindset limits vision, and because vision is the blueprint of achievement, life remains built within the walls of those self-imposed limits. A man who thinks small will act small, and a man who acts small will live small, not because the world denied him opportunity, but because his own mind refused to expand beyond scarcity. The abundant mindset sees no ceiling. It understands that ideas, opportunities, and success are not rations handed out sparingly, but resources available to anyone with the courage to pursue them. Where the poor mindset says, "I cannot," the abundant mindset asks, "How can I?" Where the poor mindset fears failure, the abundant mindset views failure as feedback, a stepping stone rather than a dead end. The size of one's thinking creates the frame through which reality is interpreted, and a small frame always cuts off the larger picture. Thinking small manifests in countless ways, dreaming only as far as survival, setting goals that require little effort, surrounding oneself with people who confirm mediocrity, refusing to take risks for fear of loss. It is the voice that whispers, "Be realistic," when in truth realism is often just another name for fear. The poor mindset avoids disappointment by avoiding ambition, but in doing so it guarantees a life stripped of possibility. The abundant mindset chooses differently. It dares to imagine more, to believe that progress is possible, to aim for goals so large they demand growth. It knows that even if the destination is not fully reached, the journey itself transforms a person into someone greater than they were before. Thinking big is not arrogance, it is faith in the potential given to every individual. It is choosing to see life not as a narrow hallway, but as a wide horizon waiting to be explored. The difference between small and abundant thinking is the difference between limitation and expansion. Small thinking says, "This is enough," even when dissatisfaction lingers. Abundant thinking says, "There is always more to learn, more to build, more to contribute." Small thinking clings to comfort, abundant thinking seeks challenge. Small thinking hoards, abundant thinking creates. Every great invention, every bold enterprise, every breakthrough in history was born not from a small vision, but from the courage to think beyond what others thought possible. To stop thinking small is to give yourself permission to grow. It is to realize that your mind, when stretched by great ideas and great goals, never returns to its former narrow shape. The poor mindset limits vision, but the abundant mindset expands it endlessly. And in that expansion lies the power to transform both the individual and the world around them. Stop fearing risk and change, for growth requires courage and stagnation guarantees decline. The poor mindset clings to the familiar, even when the familiar no longer serves it, because it believes safety lies in sameness. It avoids the unknown, mistaking comfort for security. Yet history shows that nothing in life remains the same. To resist change is to resist life itself, for all of nature moves in cycles of transformation. The seasons shift, rivers carve new paths, and even mountains erode with time. To imagine that a person can remain unchanged while the world evolves around them is to deny the very law of progress. Fear of risk is the companion of fear of change. It whispers, "What if you fail? What if you lose? What if it doesn't work?" But the greater question is, what if you never try? The poor mindset sees risk only as danger, overlooking that every advancement in life was born through risk. To learn to walk is to risk falling. To speak is to risk being misunderstood. To love is to risk heartbreak. Yet without these risks, life would be empty of meaning. The wealthy mindset understands that risk is not the enemy, but the entry fee to growth. It does not seek reckless leaps, but calculated steps, each one moving forward into larger possibility. Stagnation disguises itself as safety. A man who refuses risk convinces himself he is avoiding pain, yet over time he finds the pain of regret weighs far heavier. To stand still in a moving world is to fall behind. Skills become outdated, opportunities pass unnoticed, and confidence withers when it is never exercised. The mind, like the body, grows weak without challenge. Just as muscles require resistance to become strong, character requires risk and change to mature. Change is often uncomfortable because it strips away the familiar patterns we cling to. But in that discomfort lies renewal. It stretches perception, forcing us to see beyond our current limitations. The poor mindset views change as loss, the wealthy mindset views it as transformation. One asks, "Why is this happening to me?" The other asks, "What can I learn from this?" One resists, the other adapts, and adaptation is the true measure of survival and success. Risk and change demand courage, but courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is action in spite of fear. The wealthy mindset accepts that fear is natural, even useful, for it signals that growth lies ahead. To fear risk is to stand at the edge of opportunity and turn away. To embrace risk is to step forward, not blindly, but with trust that even if failure comes, it will bring knowledge that cannot be gained otherwise. Greatness has never been achieved by those who avoided risk or resisted change. The explorer who discovered new lands, the inventor who created new machines, the leader who transformed societies, all stepped into uncertainty. They faced ridicule, setbacks, and failure, yet they pressed on because they understood that the cost of growth is always less than the cost of stagnation. To stop fearing risk and change is to accept that life is a journey, not a fixed destination. Each step into the unknown builds resilience, each challenge embraced strengthens character, each risk taken expands the horizon of what is possible. Growth requires courage, and stagnation guarantees decline, and the choice between the two is made not once, but daily, in the quiet decisions of thought and action. Stop talking, start doing, for the difference between those who dream and those who achieve lies not in words but in action. The poor mindset delights in conversation about what will one day be accomplished, painting pictures of grand plans and future victories, yet failing to take the smallest step toward them. It confuses talking with progress, as though speaking about goals were the same as working toward them. But words alone build nothing. They are but whispers in the wind, unless followed by deeds that give them form and weight. The poor often speak of dreams but never act. They gather in circles to discuss what could be, but when the time comes to move, hesitation chains them to the same ground they have always known. They fear failure, so they remain in the safety of talk, where failure cannot touch them. They crave recognition, so they share their intentions loudly, believing that being admired for ambition is the same as earning respect through achievement. But the world does not reward intention, it rewards execution. The successful move differently. They do not waste energy explaining their every move to those around them. They do not seek applause before they have produced results. They understand that action speaks louder than any declaration, and that the fruits of consistent effort will silence doubts more effectively than any argument. While the poor mindset asks for validation, the wealthy mindset creates validation through results. Action is the great separator. Ideas, no matter how brilliant, remain powerless until acted upon. Every invention, every business, every accomplishment in history began as an idea in someone's mind, but it became reality only because that person refused to stop at thought. They acted, they built. They failed and tried again. The poor mindset becomes trapped in endless cycles of planning, always preparing but never beginning, while the successful know that imperfect action will always surpass perfect intention. To start doing is to embrace discipline. Talking requires nothing but breath, doing requires energy, courage, and persistence. Action demands sacrifice, of comfort, of leisure, of the illusion of safety. It forces a man to confront obstacles, to endure setbacks, to learn lessons that cannot be discovered in theory. And it is precisely in this process that growth takes place. Words cannot strengthen character, only action can. The wealthy mindset values silence not because it fears criticism, but because it knows results will speak louder than promises ever could. It quietly builds in the shadows, content to let progress be revealed only when undeniable. It understands that energy spent on defending or justifying plans is energy stolen from execution. By moving silently and steadily, the successful allow their results to command attention without the need for self-promotion. The poor mindset often mistakes business for productivity, filling days with talk, meetings, and distractions but producing little of value. The wealthy mindset measures progress by results, not activity. It asks not, "How much did I say I would do?" but "What did I actually accomplish today?" This simple shift in perspective creates momentum, and momentum compounds into lasting success. Dreams are necessary, for they ignite vision, but dreams without action become chains of frustration. The man who constantly speaks of what he will do, but never does it, lives in perpetual disappointment, trapped between the hope of tomorrow and the inaction of today. But the man who acts turns dreams into goals, goals into plans, and plans into realities. Every step taken builds confidence. Each small victory fuels the next effort, and over time, what once seemed distant becomes tangible, not because it was spoken of endlessly, but because it was pursued relentlessly. Stop talking, start doing, for results will speak for you in ways that words never can. The poor mindset talks loudly and changes little, while the successful move quietly and transform their world. Every principle we have explored. Stop blaming circumstances, stop spending more than you earn, stop wasting time, stop neglecting learning, stop seeking instant gratification, stop associating with negative people, stop ignoring health and discipline, stop thinking small, stop fearing risk and change, and stop talking without doing, forms a single, unshakable truth. Poverty is not first the absence of money, but the presence of destructive habits and limiting beliefs. Wealth, in every sense of the word, begins in the mind and is proven in daily action. The difference between the poor and the successful is not luck, nor fate, nor chance, but choice. When you choose responsibility over excuses, discipline over indulgence, learning over ignorance, courage over fear, and action over talk, you set in motion the forces that build prosperity, freedom, and fulfillment. The central truth is this: you will never rise above your habits, for your habits are the architects of your destiny. And so the call is clear. Stop doing what poor people do and begin today to live with the vision, discipline, and courage of the successful.